Hello, YouTubers. Welcome to PDINA. Here I am with Mr. Otis. Thank you so much for all of your wonderful comments. I really do enjoy reading them. I try to respond to as many as I can, but hey, keep sending them and let's talk about a few things. Let's talk about a few things that I think warrant a back look. A back look, because my title is about the king's abdication, but I want you to hear me out. Hear me out how I think this could happen, because it's very legitimate to the future of the monarchy, okay? So here's what's going on. There's a lot of people talking about the potential abdication of King Charles. And I want to just look at this article that I was looking at just to give you some pointers. But I want to also, we're going to go back and we're going to look at something that Harry and Meghan did to kind of weigh in what this future could look like for the monarchy. There are a lot of people who are calling for the abdication of King Charles. And we know that the most recent abdication of the Queen of Denmark kind of set the tone, and it kind of shows a new light in, how Otis. Okay, so Princess Diana's former butler, Paul Burrell, he said that he thinks that the king and the queen are going to give it 10 years. He thinks they're going to give it 10 years, and that's their plan, to see how it goes and to think, okay, this could be a goal. They're saying that the queen, she would have never have done that because she came from a different generation. Her entire life was molded around being a monarch. The king will now know exactly what to do and to take a page out of Prince Philip's book and say, I've done enough and want to do things he wants to do. Now, we can see that there are going to be people on both sides. No, he won't. What you say? No, he's not. He's never going to abdicate. Don't even say that. He is doing this because this is something that he made a promise to God, and the tradition, the monarchy is to never do that. And I get when people say that, but I'm really on the side of what Paul is saying, only because we do live in a different era now. We live in a different time that was never foreseen before. And I think you have to look in context to the lives that we live now. I think King Charles would have never abdicated had he lived in a time that was different than what we're living in now. But King Charles is living or he is the monarch in a time that could challenge him and his being on the throne. And we see his health issues, right? We see things that are happening that warrant someone to just take it easy. Don't get wrapped up in doing things that we could easily have someone else do, because your life, your quality of life is so much better. The queen, to her advantage, she had her youthfulness behind her to be the queen. So she was the monarch at a very young age and grew into an older age. The king is taking it up in his older age, in a different generation. So there are clearly different ways to look at that. Burrell also goes on to say that I think the country will embrace a new young king and queen, and it will complete the circle that Diana's son will be king. He also went on to say that if Catherine's health is well enough, he foresees the royal tour. He can foresee a royal tour because the king and queen don't like long travels, and that's the thing. So we see issues with Catherine's health. And we don't know that it's anything that could, make her not want to be the queen. But that's something we don't know about. I mean, she's getting the best of the best health care. So I can imagine it would be something that she could do because she's young. It wasn't a very, it was serious, but enough that she's better and she's just resting up now. So I don't foresee that as a problem, her health. But I do foresee it being a health issue with the king. And I think being in this position as the leader and having health issues in your quality of life with this new generation that we're living in, and then being the king at such an older age rather than growing into it, it could warrant an abdication. So I'm definitely of the mindset of what Paul is saying, but hang with me. Because I'm going to tell you why I think this will happen. He goes on to say that he thinks that they have a plan, that the king and the queen, they have a plan for the next 8 years. And he believes that he will follow suit with the Queen of Denmark and that he will want to see his son crowned the king. I mean, imagine if you are able to have some time as the king, then abdicate so that you can actually see your son become king. That would, and not be dead where you can't see it. That would be a blessing for him. And I think he would want to see his son reach that milestone, unlike his mother not being able to see him be the king, the queen. He also goes on to say the king may have a different approach than his mother, and that he may want to initiate a new tradition where, you abdicate when you become of a certain age. And he thinks that he's going to work hard for the next 10 years and that he is going to go into retirement, and then he's going to watch things blossom for his son. He's going to want to see his son come into being the monarch. Now, this is why I think it's relevant, because everything that Harry and Meghan have done so far, bringing disdain on the monarch, bringing just vile and vitriol to everything that the monarch is about because of that woman. Okay, we know that woman, Meghan Markle, is the one who is trying to do this. And the reason why she's trying to do it is because she has got to get rid of those people across the pond so that she can have her life as a renter royal to reign supreme in America. She needs to have that because they overshadow her. She can't get anything accomplished as a royal who is subject to those across the pond. And this is why she has constantly tried to bring down what the royals are doing. And imagine the king abdicating and giving it to William, how that would completely stomp Meghan out. But as long as King Charles is on the monarch, she can try to have the younger generation on her side, because it's harder for the king to have the younger generation on his side, considering he's much older and he comes from a different generation. Now, I would not want to see the king abdicate. I would not. I think he needs to stay on. But I think also if there is continued, this is the key word, continued vitriol thrown at the royals, they have got to shake things up. Because this is how Meghan is doing it. And this is how I believe she has sold Harry on it. And we're going to go back to when she spoke about the monarchy when she was actually a working royal. And we're going to look at what she said, because this is how she is trying to move forward with things now. Let's take a listen.
It's such a good point, Mike, that you say, because I think a lot of it as well is in that self-reflection, it's acknowledging whatever mistakes we've all made, right? So if we look at the Commonwealth, and I know part of the conversation we're going to explore later on is looking at the history of that. But if you start on that macro level, you also have to look on a more micro level with each of us individually. What have we done in our past that we put our hand up? And I think this is a moment of reckoning where so many people go, you know what, I need to own that. Maybe I didn't do the right thing there. I knew what I knew. However, now it's time to reset in a different way. And I think both of us, it's part of the conversation we've had quite a bit in our calls over the last few weeks surrounding the Black Lives Matter movement, for everyone to be a part of this conversation.
And when it comes to sort of institutional and systemic racism, it's there and it stays there because someone somewhere is benefiting from it. We can't deny or ignore the fact that all of us have been brought up and educated to see the world differently. However, once you start to realize that there is that bias there, then you need to acknowledge it. You need to acknowledge it, but then you need to do the work to be able to become more aware so that you can... Exactly what you're saying.
Well, and I think so much of what we're seeing as well is that, it's not even in the big moments, right? It's in the quiet moments where racism and unconscious bias lies, and as you've said, lies and hides and thrives. And it's those nuances that I think makes it confusing for a lot of people to understand the role that they play in that, either passively or actively, but I think even more so passively. And so much of what I've come to the understanding of, especially in learning even more about it of late, and obviously having had personal experience with it as well, but in people's complacency, they're complicit.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is the shift that we're seeing, to go, it's not enough to just be a bystander and saying, well, it wasn't me. And that's what I think was very much manifested in what you're feeling from people's outpouring surrounding the murder of George Floyd.
Now, this is key because Meghan has talked about unconscious bias against the royal family and about them, taking ownership for the things that they have done. Everything that she said in this interview, she has had she's spoken about during the Oprah interview and in relation to the royal family. And even Harry, when he talked about it, he called it unconscious bias. And so they wanted the royal family to apologize about the unconscious bias racism within the royal family. So Harry and Meghan are trying to bring out this racism and things that have happened in the past to apologize. And Harry's always asking, apologize what you did to my wife. Say you sorry. I don't like that you are not recognizing how you have treated my wife. My wife needs to be reckoned with and, all these things, because that's Meghan in his ear. That's Meghan in his ear. And so Harry and Meghan, as they continue to speak with young people, they are going to continue to try to bring down this old generation of the monarchy and how they're not good for the future. And they're going to continue to try to make a mark in America, because with that, they can get Americans on board. Because Americans, we all about the racism. We got people throwing racism here and there everywhere. And you have to look at what Harry and Meghan have done in the past to see what they're going to do in the future. And this is how they're speaking on it. And the king is going to be able to have a way to fight back if he continues to bring young people into the fold around his leadership and to make a difference around racism, because Harry and Meghan are never going to let that die. That's the one thing that they have in America that makes them relevant. Even if they never speak about the royal family and talk about how mean they were to them, they can always bring up, well, you know what they did to me when I was a royal over in that royal family? What they did to me, they was racist. They was unconscious bias, and Harry's going to try to be like, okay, just hold it down with the racism in my family. Harry's going to try to be like, woman, just shut up. But Meghan, you rest assured, she's going to keep throwing that out there. And I don't know how they're going to be able to make it as working people that want to be like Americans with a mission, but still connected to the royal family without bringing that up. Like you can't continue to move forward as a royal without bringing up why you left. So that's always going to be a part of Meghan's narrative, although Harry is trying to stop it. Because there are recent reports coming out that Harry is trying to get his wife to not speak about the royal family anymore. He doesn't want her doing it. He doesn't want her speaking badly about his family anymore when she goes to write her book. But what kind of book is she going to write that people are going to listen to? We've already seen the things that they've tried to do, Harry and Meghan, where people are not going to listen. They're not going to get the numbers that they want. Everything that they're going to do that is not speaking about racism is not going to do well. They'll never get a footing. They'll never really reach people's hearts and minds here in America without speaking about race. And Meghan will always have to be able to tie that to why she left the royal family, thus bringing in the royal family being dragged into the negativity of it all. And Harry is saying also that he is not going to allow Meghan to do it. But does he have the spine to do that? Because if we just look at this picture here of them giving this interview, if you look to Meghan's left, to our right, look at all the space that is right there. This is a woman who always wants to put him on the side. He's the handbag. He's the person that accompanies her to complement what she's doing. He's not there in relevance. He is there to accompany her in her struggle and what she is saying. You watch that and you just look at how Harry allows her to just get him off the screen. Like if I were, because you can see yourself when you do these videos, so you can see yourself. Why isn't he telling his wife, woman, move over? Get me in the screen. Like, well, why is he got to be almost to the edge outside of the screen? Meghan clearly sees that she is in the center. And he allows it. He allows it. He allows himself to be bullied by this woman. And it's being recorded for the whole world to see that you are being sidelined by your wife. And he's not telling her, like, let me get in. And Meghan, I'm telling you right now, it's as sure as I'm sitting here right now, Meghan is going to find a way to say the things about race to be relevant here in America, regardless of what Harry is going to tell her to do. She may tone it down, but she's always trying to reach out to the king. What about my letter I sent you? What about what I'm saying about racism? And she's going to connect that the king is not listening to her. Look at the Commonwealth. Just take a look at what even happened during the Netflix interview way back around the slave trade and the monarchy's hand in the slave trade. She's trying to bring relevance into something that the Americans will care about. And I'm telling you that the king may, in his decision to strengthen the monarchy, to make it relevant for a younger generation, to make it something that will save the monarchy, he may abdicate for that reason alone. Because that's the one power the king has that will trump Meghan. By bringing in a younger generation, by bringing in what the Commonwealth is doing now today with the younger royals, and to strengthen their stance on racism and the past of the monarchy with a younger generation. Prince William and Catherine are doing in terms of, work with the Commonwealth and trying to bring in more diversity within their own household, which I know they've been doing with their new hires. They're doing things, but I think they've got to step it up to make it even stronger, because that's what Meghan is planning behind the scenes. Meghan is planning a way to bring down the monarchy, to make herself more relevant here in America, to make herself the royal that people relate to. And she is able to do it with Harry on the sidelines, because Harry, as he continues to try to, speak his way around this unconscious bias and all of these things, he doesn't want it to touch his family. He doesn't want it to go there. But Meghan will. Meghan will, even if she does it in the roundabout way around racism, because that's where Americans will listen. And that's where she's trying to get her market. That's why she's here in America. Now, there's a couple of other things that she said during this interview that we're going to look at too. And this is the part where she's going to talk about why she and Harry are shaking up and doing what they're doing now through these growing pains. And this is how they believe or legitimize everything that they have done to the royal family. This is how she legitimizes it with what she is saying right now.
Discomfort, and why it's an important recognition, is that it's like growing pains. Growing pains are painful. This process is painful, and it has been for a long time. But through that immense pain, what we can have tremendous faith in is knowing that there will be growth. And that's what we're seeing happen every single day as all of you are out there campaigning, fighting the right fight, being on the right side of history, and ensuring that we can get closer to seeing this truly as our past and not something that we have to revisit again and again and again. So we really...
But then to Meghan's point here, I just, like, the visuals of that just really irked me, okay? It's just like, ugh. But, you listen to what she is saying also, and she talks about how, we got to go back to the past, and we got to get through these growing pains, and we've got to, we got to get to where we need to be to make things right, no matter how much it hurts. No matter what I'm doing to you that hurts your feelings, it doesn't matter, because we're growing in this moment. We're going to kick you out, you royals. We're going to get you to where you need to be, because you need to atone for all the bad that you have done to us black folk. I'm newly black, and I need to realize what has been done to my people. Although I'm just now realizing I'm black, I'm going to talk about it now because it can help me in my future. That's how she's thinking. So we got to look at what they did in the beginning and how they have forged this plan. They have forged this plan to get rid of the monarchy, to uplift Meghan. And they can only be defeated by the king's move that will trump everything that Harry and Meghan do by bringing in William and Catherine to head up the monarchy. That's the only way the king can save the monarchy. Should Meghan continue to do this, I believe she will. I believe she will, because she wants it by any means necessary. It's a theory. It's the way I see it. Let me know what you think. This is the only way Meghan can find success in America, by doing what she has started to do towards the royals. Harry's tried to backtrack on it, but Meghan hasn't. Watch out for her. She is trying to bring down the monarchy, but the king can overshadow that with his next move.